I love Sniper Elite, and I have done ever since I played the first dusty, pea-tinged original all the way back in 2005. The series has come a long way in nearly 20 years? Are you crazy? But is Sniper Elite Resistance a worthwhile entry to a nearly 20-year-old sniping series? The main difference with Resistance is that rather than playing as franchise favourite Daddy Carl Fairburn, the story revolves around Harry Hawker. Harry Hawker, working with the French Resistance, barely, is tasked with destroying a German wonder weapon that could put a halt to the Allies' D-Day plans. A nerve agent-based Wunderwaffe called Klein Bloomer.
Kleiner Bloomer, Kleiner Bloomer.
Something you've already heard half a dozen times by now is, hey, if you like the other Sniper Elite games, you'll like Sniper Elite Resistance too. And honestly, they're not wrong, but I can't actually think of a time where a recommendation based on prior experiences with the series has been more appropriate. Resistance shares so much DNA with Sniper Elite 5 that they kind of feel like twins separated at birth but adopted into different families. A ton of similarities, and at its core, they almost have identical DNA, but with enough unique character and personality to make them feel like individuals. But, for the most part, Resistance is, for better or worse, more Sniper Elite 5. Is this a war crime? I feel like that might have been a war crime. It has, thankfully though, retained a lot of the great bits of Sniper Elite 5. The core gameplay we all know and love is still exactly how you remember it, with the sniping being as difficult or as easy as you want it to be, while still delivering on that ever so appealing power fantasy of using high caliber weapons to send a bad guy's eyebrows through the back of his brainstem. And you can do this with a mostly new suite of weapons, all wonderfully customizable to suit your playstyle or the needs of your mission, including a few weapons scattered around the levels which give a nice nod to the resistance element of the story. I love that they've added something like the FP45 into the game. This thing was airdropped by Allied forces into occupied territories for the use of resistance forces. A very, very basic pistol with a few rounds that you'd use to take out an enemy and take their weapon. But it was so basic, you had to reload this thing with a stick. There's actually very few documented instances of this weapon even being used. But it's so tightly connected to the history of resistance forces in World War II now. However, I couldn't escape the feeling that the campaign never really played into this resistance element beyond the broad setting. You're introduced to members of the resistance early in the game, but beyond broad objectives like destroying evidence to keep resistance members' identities hidden, dispatching Axis snipers on their behalf, or finding supply caches hidden by the partisans, the story shifts away from focusing on the cast of guerrilla fighters. Uh-oh. I'm doing it again. However, the new propaganda missions do a much better job showcasing this idea of playing as a member of this resistance. Some missions will have you scurrying around a city armed with nothing but a pistol, challenging you to dispatch as many Axis officers as possible within a time frame and with restricted supplies, while others may be sniper-based missions, challenging you to take out enemies from afar, amassing the highest score possible. These reminded me of the Hitman Sniper Assassin missions. They were quick, satisfying, and uniquely challenging when compared to the main campaign. Rebellion are obviously proud of them, they made them a big selling point when marketing the game, which makes it kind of frustrating that the only way to access them is to find specific propaganda posters hidden around each level. And some of these levels are Nazi bases or moonlit cities that already have dozens of random miscellaneous pieces of propaganda strewn across walls and streets, which means finding the specific pieces of propaganda that unlock a new mission as you naturally progress through the campaign can be kind of annoying. Again, it is a shame that Sniper Elite Resistance's cool new game mode is barriered this way, because the missions I have played so far have been great, but honestly, save yourself some time and use a guide to unlock them for yourself. But outside of that, most of the levels are an absolute blast to shoot through and explore. Oh, Joseph, that's not good news. I'd feel much better about shooting Patrick Noyle than I would Joseph Biscoff. I really love the open world Hitman-esque nature of modern Sniper Elite level design. It works so fantastically well when blended with the gameplay of the series. Objectives still feel like their own miniature puzzles that can evolve through the course of a mission, depending on the gear you've got, or if you've come in guns blazing or have kept covert. But the game isn't afraid to be a little absurd either, sometimes giving you the option to take down a high-value target via the simplicity of a high-velocity bullet, disguise your killing as a workplace accident, or via the application of highly explosive rodents.
This rat's primed and ready for the guest of honor.
As the levels have got bigger and more in-depth, it has encouraged more exploration. They grant more gameplay options, offer more secrets to discover in the way of weapon workbenches and hidden secondary objectives, and all of this comes together to make the environment feel denser and more captivating. Nothing was better at this than Sniper Elite 5's Spy Academy, and many of the levels in Sniper Elite Resistance come damn close to that now iconic mission. One of my favorites is actually the tutorial mission, a massive dam that you're tasked with securing so British Lancaster bombers can drop their dam busting payload. A few missions later, you return to the location with the dam partially destroyed and being repaired. But as you take pride in the effectiveness of your previous mission, more of the area is now open to explore. Resistance also features a castle town, which is very similar to the Spy Academy mission, as well as another visit to a French vineyard and manor, which may be a little too similar to a mission from Sniper Elite 5, but is nonetheless a great locale to skulk and snipe through. But most importantly, there's plenty of variety to be found across the missions of Sniper Elite Resistance. The closeness of city streets or the interiors of buildings can require you to rely on close combat kills or your trusty sidearm as you fight to a vantage point, which means by the time you get to take that oh so satisfying long range shot, you feel like you've earned it. That this trigger pull is the crescendo at the end of your stealthy symphony, a reward for your patience. While other levels will allow you to fully bask in the power fantasy of a sniper, letting you fire away with wild abandon, perched safely away from the gory results of your deadly craft. Fuck. I didn't mean to do that. It looked cool, but I didn't mean to do that. And let's be honest with each other, most of us are here for the stealth, sniping, and satisfying X-ray kill cams more than they are the story. And I think Rebellion knows this. Resistance's story is fine, but more so than in previous titles does it feel like a delivery device for the gameplay rather than one of its main selling points. It's like a cheesy nacho. You can't have cheesy nachos without tortilla chips. And hey, tortilla chips are great. Nachos are nothing but goop without them. But we all know the thing that you really love most is that ooey gooey nacho cheese. And the chip is just a delivery device for that luminous yellow ooze. In case you didn't understand my weird forced food analogy, the chip is the game's story and the cheese is all the sniping and stealthing you get to do. But strange food tangents aside, Sniper Elite Resistance is a great game, and well worth your time whether you're a fan of the series or are brand new to it. It has more than earned its place in the Sniper Elite franchise, and honestly, the exploration of new characters and varying locales and stories makes me more and more hopeful that one day we'll get something akin to a Cold War era Sniper Elite game. I've also been playing a little bit of the Axis Invasion game mode over on my Twitch channel, and it is an absolute blast. You can come and watch me ruin some people's campaigns live over at twitch.tv/IrregularDave right now. But if you're looking for some kind of nebulous numbered score, I give Sniper Elite Resistance 27 teeth violently ejected from the jaws of an absent-minded Gestapo officer out of 32. For everyone who spent their time watching my ramblings today, thank you for sharing your attention and your thoughts. You can find me right here should you want to get together again. But until then, be kind to yourself, and I'll see you real soon.